Hello everyone, this is Crota giving you a shoutcast in a game between Empire's Violet versus the Muslim here on Antigua Shipyard, the GSL version. This was taken from IEM Sao Paulo, and hopefully this game does not disappoint. I believe this is in the later rounds or perhaps even the finals. I'm sure one of my viewers out there will let you know in the comment section. Anyways, let's see what's going to happen here as we have Violet spawning as the red Zerg at the 9 o'clock position. Meanwhile, the Muslim spawning as the blue Terran at the 12 o'clock position. Now, based upon these spawning locations, there shouldn't really be that much of a difference unless Mutalisks do come into play. Mutalist harassment will easily be able to cause a lot of harassment here while pulling away units from the front door. Now, there are no destructible rocks leading into that third base, so that third base will be a little bit easier to defend. Meanwhile, it looks like Violet already going to move out and do a little bit of early scouting in the counter, or the clockwise direction, excuse me, as the Overlord is now going into the counterclockwise direction. Now, the Muslims' build order seems to be 12 racks, most likely followed by a 13 barracks, and we'll see whether or 13 refinery, and we'll see whether or not that will be effective. Waiting on to see if the Muslim will be going for that additional gas or not. It looks like he is not, as he is double training SCVs. A drone does make its way up the ramp and now getting some easy damage on an SCV as it's working. The drone now attempting to pull away. It will be able to do exactly that as the drone now wanders around the mineral line and perhaps just trying to be a little bit annoying, but not much else can be done. Now, because of the timing and because of the fact that Violet sees that there is no gas, he knows he can set down this early hatchery. The early hatchery pretty much is going to be very, very well protected unless there is also a second barracks in play, but he now sees a delayed refinery, and a little curious about that strategy. That's a very common thing that I've seen as of late. Getting that later refinery, but I'm not 100% sure why players do it yet. I'll have to keep track of that for you, especially as sometimes the players do go into a factory right after, and I would normally think if you wanted that factory, you might as well place it down, so as soon as you finish your second supply depot, you can place down that factory. Extractor now coming into play off over here. You can see the Muslim does have a large amount of minerals that he's just currently sitting on. More Marines are going to be trained. We should perhaps be going into what other buildings are being added now. I don't see anything. Gas is still being collected, and the factory may just be there for strictly 100 gas. SCV now attempting to help with the extractor as well. A third Marine will be making its way over as a command center is being built. So a command center now being added, and then after this command center, we'll see what's going to happen here as a drone does get destroyed there. No new refinery. Command center now being added. You can see that the front door, there is one supply depot off over here. SCV is deciding to back off as Violet now getting into a lot more Zerglings. Double Queens, no Roach Warrens, so it doesn't look like Violet's going to be pushing out with a large number of Roach Warrens. But this particular build, it looks as though he wants to get the command center up and running, and it's a reverse of the Reactor Hellion expansion. It's Expansion Reactor Hellion, and that does allow for a nice little bit of cleanup there as the Marines are doing a nice bit of splitting. The Zerglings chasing after the unit, and now the Muslim trying to maximize his damage. Oh, the Zergling down to 4 hit points, able to barely survive. Let's take a look at the resources lost. 193 versus 200. 4 Marines down. You saw a lot of resources lost in the building and cancellation of that one extractor off over here, as we are now going into a command center. Most likely will be upgraded to an orbital command. Now, Spine Crawler already being built. You can see more Hellions being added and more Marines being trained, but the reactor is not being swapped back with the factory, interestingly enough. Perhaps we will see a tech lab added onto that factory, and it will be straight up Marine tank trying to push out that front door. You can see that the Zergling is not going to make its way to those Marines there, as now one Hellion pushing out. We do see drones being transferred as well, as we are finally transitioning into a Roach Warren. Orbital command about to be finished. Hellions and Marines. You can also see a whole bunch of barracks, bunkers need to be added. Maybe some supply depots as well to finish off a wall in, as the command center will be established and it needs to be very well defended. engineering bay, the first building in there, as we now see the Hellion attempting to drive away from those Zerglings. The Zerglings about to catch up to it, perhaps be able to get us around, and now in comes some Marines, and nicely done, saving the Hellion. 4 Marines, 1 Hellion coming down the ramp to make sure to save that 1 unit there. The Muslim does have a slight advantage now, 43 over 46, but there is a drone advantage for Violet, as he now jumps up after that round of spawn larva, getting 8 roaches at a time, and without any tech labs, with no marauders, it's going to be very difficult to stop the sheer number of roaches. Looks like marauders are not being trained, just getting stim, no combat shield as of yet, no tech lab, and those roaches with that very high hit points may simply be able to walk in here and deal a lot of damage. Hellions not very effective, Marines neither that effective, as we are now going into I believe an 9 roach push, with a couple of Zerglings coming in behind it as well. Banelings are going to be coming in, so the Banelings will be able to melt away many of those units as the roaches now charge over at the front door. Marauders need to be trained. Are they going to be trained now? No more Marines still being added here, as the front door is going to be very, very much exposed, especially with Banelings. 9 Banelings now being hatched. Those Banelings are going to be able to simply run into the wall here. Roaches now going to just take down the supply depot. Banelings now coming in and now taking down the front door fairly easily. Marines now trying to run away. More Baneling damage. Banelings just going to roll through here. And Violet doing a 2-base timing push with Zerg, showing why you got to be careful. You cannot assume that your opponent is always going to be just power roaching or power droning. This time you see a lot of roaches were trained. Zerglings now able to just run past this front door. A second bunker was not completed. Supply depots need to be raised. It doesn't look like they will be raised in time, as the Muslim says GG in game 1. So game 1 going to Violet pretty easily. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.